who owned it. He told Stanford European, one of these days, I'm going to walk in this store and write you a check for one of these cars. And that's what he did. In 2001, he walked in there. January 2002, he walked in there and wrote a check for a Lamborghini Diablo 2001.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then all the way up until 8 months ago, we bought the car from him, and I sold it to my accountant.
Yeah, I remember we did that. That was Diablo de Oro. That was the golden bull that we wrapped for.
Oh,
him,
yeah.
right?
It was Golden Bull, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was... I mean, I had to test drive the car because we had a bunch of stuff to fix on it, and I had a really hard time. Everybody thought I was a 49er. You 49er, man? I'm like, no.
It was a gold chrome Lamborghini Diablo.
It was gold chrome, man, and it said, what was it? It wasn't SV on the side. It was
his
initials
or something like that. Yeah. I can't remember what it was.
You're looking at me like I've seen the car.
But we used the SV style like type font.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
font
But
for
we
it.
put that
Did
instead.
his son hired you to do that, though?
No, he did.
He did?
He wanted to do that.
The old man?
The old man.
The
wanted
old
to.
man.
The only pleasure he got in life, he told me, was driving his tractor out in the middle of the fields, way out there in the middle of nowhere out by Fresno. He's got a huge...
So what does he do now?
Nothing. He goes out there, he relaxes, he smokes his cigars, and he drives his tractor. He plows fields. He loves it.
It's a good time.
So no more Lambo.
Yeah, his tractor's a Lambo. Lamborghini tractor.
No way.
Yeah, they make
Oh,
it.
That's what they started with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
I didn't think people were
Yeah,
still
the old
using
man
it.
took Italian military vehicles and converted them into agricultural equipment.
Nice.
And they sell them new now. But yeah, he's got one completely enclosed cockpit, air conditioning, radio. He's full.
Oh, he's got the whole nine going.
Oh, yeah, he's so
having a
happy.
blast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
he's
I'm
so
talking
far
about.
out there, his kids can't reach him. He doesn't have to talk to nobody.
Yeah.
He loves it.
The
He's
dream.
like- he
The
is.
dream.
He is. And he had so much frustration with owning that car because of people that were working on it after a year. And I finished it, and it was like it ran just like new.
Yeah.
He said, I don't even want to drive it. He goes, I
don't get
I don't
that.
feel well. There's so much anxiety over people giving him a story, fix this, fix that, charge this, charge that. He had $38,000 in receipts, and nothing was fixed.
Jesus.
So it ended up with me because the company that was working on it sent it to me because they couldn't figure it out. I figured it out. I billed them, and they were supposed to give Guadalupe some money back, and they never really did. And so I made it run perfect, and then my accountant's been looking for one for like 2 years. I said, I got your car for you. And I sent him a picture of this gold thing, and he's like, you got to be shitting me. I am not driving that car. Who would paint a car like that? I'm like, it's not
Vinyl.
painted. It's
Yeah.
vinyl. So I peeled off the doors and the hood and just kind of waxed it a little bit. And I sent him pictures, and he goes, oh, I like that. So we reupholstered the seat because he had changed that. And then we pulled all the wrap off of it. And we just kept massaging that thing till it was brand new, even though it's got 26,000 miles on it. But now it looks brand new. It looks unbelievable. Let's put the wheels back,
Heck
all
yeah.
back to original. Everything's back to OEM.
Yeah, the wheels just had it was just faced.
Yeah, it was so the wheels were semi-gloss black with some of that red and gold chrome on the face.
Yeah, it was gold chrome on the face, but he had they were magnesium, I think, back then.
Mag wheels. So if you strip the original primer off of that aluminum magnesium, the magnesium will gas out and make it bubble. So you have to take it down to the original primer, which you can't get in the United States, scuff that, and then paint over that. That's it. So it worked out. Fortunately, that original primer was still on the rim. So when we painted them, we didn't have to worry about it gassing out and bubbling. So it worked out. It was good. Lupe was happy. He came in, and we made a really good deal on it, and he was happy to see it back to where it was supposed to be halfway when he saw it. But he goes, I don't want to drive it. It's just, I'm going to fall in love again.
Yep.
And, go down this road of anxiety and this and that and wondering when something's going to happen. It was easier for him to walk away from it.
Yeah.
Go to his tractor. He loved that
Good.
thing.
That was a good sale too.
That's cool.
Hey, everyone, thanks for checking us out. This is the Wrapped Up podcast here at SS Customs in beautiful Redwood City, California. Today I got a good friend along with my co-host AJ and our good friend here for well over a decade. And he is a man of many words and sometimes few words. Ted Taormina. He is also the world record. Wait a minute. He broke his own record, right?
Yeah. Broke my own
And
record.
he holds the world record of the fastest AC Cobra on the planet Earth. So
Yeah.
that's the man right here. You got to have some type of crazy balls on you to go that fast in an open top AC Cobra. But he's here, so we're going to be talking about fast cars and just the life of Ted Taormina and how he got to where he is today.
There it
We
is.
good?
It's been quite a journey, let me
All
tell
right,
you.
man.
And it ain't over yet. That's
There
for
we
sure.
go.
It's definitely not over. So,
We got this, man.
going fast has been in my DNA since I was about 22 years old. I had the opportunity to go out to the Bonneville Salt Flats with a 86 Lamborghini Countach.
Oh, is this the
and-
origin story we're getting into?
Which one?
Right now? 86? You said you were
Ni-
22 years old. You went to the Bonneville Slats?
Bonneville Salt Flats,
Uh-huh.
but it was a 1986 Lamborghini Countach. The year was 1992, and we built our shop built a Lamborghini Countach for the Salt Flats. So that's the world fastest Countach in the world. Also, owned
Still
by-
today?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
owned by Albertoni, and it had the record in its class, which is C modified sports class. It had the record for about 10 years, and somebody beat it with another car. But it not only was the fastest Lamborghini Countach in the world, but it was fastest in its class for about 10 years till somebody broke that. So, yeah, that car was that was fun. So we went out to the Bonneville Salt Flats. Never had been there before. The salt's looks like snow, of course, but it's hard. It's rock. They scrape the surface for about 5 miles. They paint this big black stripe down the middle, and you just point the car into that stripe, because when you're looking that far down, all it looks like after about half of a mile is lake. Looks like a lake. Looks like water, because it's like a mirage, right? So even when I ran my Cobra at the Kennedy Space Center, they call it Lake NASA, because you look so far down the straightaway, it looks like water. And when you're driving, all you see is this water, but it's not. So it's a whole, when you're sitting in the car and you're looking down that runway, you're looking down the salt flats, it's like you just don't know where you're going or where you're headed. All you can see is that one black line and nothing but white. That's it.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
That's
well-
that's almost euphoric.
Well, yeah, it is. It's so flat, you can almost see the curvature of the earth.
Yeah.
That's how flat the Bonneville Salt Flats are. When you go to Bonneville Speed Week or something like that, you pull up to this town called Wendover, and there's a sign sticking in the ground that says Bonneville with an arrow, and you follow that arrow for like 5 miles. So you don't see anything. Then all of a sudden, a few specks start popping up, and then all of a sudden it's campers and race cars and teams and tents and just in the middle of nowhere. And all these old time car guys that love speed, been working on their car for the whole year, and they just come out there, and it's the only place you can run your car that fast for that distance anywhere in the world. So these guys all come there from all over the world. They put,
How long do you think that stretches?
it's 5 miles.
5 miles of just
5 miles, and another course is 9 miles. So you get in your car, and the gearing is so tall that you get your shop truck, your dually, and you push that car to about 90 before they even start it. Then the car pops and spitters and sputs because the gears are so tall, and you pop that thing into gear, and it idles and pops and spits, and all of a sudden it starts to smooth out at about 150. And these guys just lay on the throttle, and they just keep it straight and pray to God that nothing blows up, nothing lets go, and nothing loses control. That's really what it's all about. If your car can live 5 or 9 mile acceleration, full throttle for over a minute and a half and not blow up, you built a car that's going to live. It's going to live. And that's the hardest thing about people. You can sit here and run an engine on a dyno, and you do a dyno pull and you measure 800 horsepower, you measure that horsepower in about 2.5 seconds. That's it. Think about that for 60 seconds. When I'm sitting in my little Cobra, no windshield, just a helmet, a lot of prayers, you start your acceleration, you get into fourth gear, and you're, at about 180, 190 miles an hour, and you're hitting fifth gear, and all you can see is the road ahead of you, and that engine is so stressed out, and you're still pulling, and you're still pulling, you shift into fifth, and you shift into sixth. That engine is completely maxed out for 60 seconds, 55 seconds. And if you're not blowing shit up, you're lucky. And, so once you get to that level of not blowing something up and going balls out like that, if you get the combination of the engine staying together and breaking your record, you succeeded. So then you wake up the next day and you go, well, what am I going to do next? Am I going to go faster? Am I going to build another car? Am I going to go back home and find more aerodynamic, more horsepower? And if you do, you're like, oh, I got to go back. I got to go back and beat my last record because I just found 50 more horsepower, 100 more horsepower. So that's the bug.
I just got
That's
so
the bug.
enthralled just listening to that.
That's the bug you get, man. You get
That's
get
a
in that
movie.
car, and any car, right? I drove a Daytona coupe, Shelby Daytona coupe down there, and I'm going, and I was testing on a long bridge in Mexico somewhere, and I hit 190 miles an hour, and I was like, wow, and I got off the bridge and then back on the bridge, and I did one more pull, and the engine let go.
No.
Oh yeah, piston hit, broke the rod,
Jesus.
in the middle of this bridge, in the middle of nowhere, and got back to the shop, and I'm like, well, my guys are like, I'm supposed to leave to race this car in 3 days.
Yeah.
So I looked at my shop, discouraged in the morning. I got an extra engine sitting over there, not quite as much power, but I had another engine. And I said, guys, you know me, I love racing, but I can't get that engine in the car and running in 3 days and off to the transport and tested and off to the transport to the run in New Mexico. So my crew, God bless them all, really, really love them. They're like, we're in. So we stayed up all night, pulled the engine out, put another engine in, made it run, and went racing. That was it. Sad news is I didn't have enough road to run that car, but I probably have enough road coming up pretty soon. So I'm going to run that Daytona because the CD, the drag coefficiency number is half of what it is in the Cobra Roadster. The Daytona Coupe was a very underrated car by the people in America because it went from the Cobra Roadster to the Daytona Coupe designed by Pete Brock to the GT40, which Ford threw millions at the GT40. Mm-hmm. But the Daytona Coupe just kind of got passed over. That's why there's only, I think, 5 in the world. And FIA rules were you can keep the Roadster chassis or you can keep the Roadster body, but you can't change both. So they took the Roadster body off the frame. They hammered on this Daytona body that was half the drag coefficiency, and they went to Daytona and cleaned house. No one could catch that Daytona. It's slippery. It's so aero. So when I was testing it at those high speeds, which I'd never had a Daytona up that high before, I was like, this is like a Cadillac. I could have been sipping my coffee at 180. It felt so good compared to the Roadster.
Yeah.
So it was.
Well, speaking of the Roadster, since you started on the subject of the Roadster and running at the flats, what was the first number that you got that you were like, holy shit, I did it?
Well, the
what was the
Italian
previous
job,
number?
What's that?
What was the previous number?
198 was the record held in 1966 by Dick Smith. 198 miles an hour, that car was clocked at Daytona.
And never
Going
been
around the
touched
track.
since.
Never been touched since. So I was at work. I built this, I designed this car called the Italian Job. I designed this thing, and it just arrived, painted, red upholstery, and my phone rings, and it's some news channel calling me up because I'm building Cobras and stuff like that. And they said, "Are you the guy trying to break the record in a Cobra?" And I said, "No, it's not me." So it's a guy named Virgil down in San Diego. I said, "What's the record?" They said it's 198. I'm like, I think I could do that. I think I've done that. I think.
Wait a minute. You got a call from somebody saying,
I
"Are
got a
you
call
trying
from
to
the
break
news
the record?"
station. Yeah, asking me if I was the one trying to break the record in a Shelby.
Was there someone trying to break the record?
His name was Virgil in San Diego.
Okay, so
Good guy, hardworking guy. Built a beautiful car. It was a family project car, from what I know. And he was out at Mojave, and with a tailwind, he hit 199. So it was a big deal, really big deal.
Wow.
So tailwind or not,
official?
honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
But the man was clocked at 199 with a tailwind. I call it official. If he didn't do 199 going the other way, I don't care. The man did 199, and I know what it takes to do that. And I'm telling you, my hat's off to him. So
There you go.
when they told me that what the record was, I put the phone down and I'm like, guys, we're gonna, instead of putting a Ferrari engine in that car, I'm gonna put a 427 in it, and I'm gonna break the world record in it, build the fastest Cobra, since it was my favorite car when I was like 10 years old. So since then I was like, guys, we're going at it. So I built this car, went to Mojave, and man, I couldn't get past 174.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's devastating. I come home and I'm like, what am I doing? And you can't.
What year was this?
This was 2016. This was 2016, and it was like October.
It was how long after that phone call?
Oh, shoot. Maybe 3-4 months.
Oh, so you were just like, now you had this
turned
bug.
around and just hit it.
Yeah, shoot, yeah.
Y'all called the wrong person, but the right guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know.
wrong
I don't know if
person,
there's
but the
something
right
called
guy.
crack or Coke or whatever gives you energy, but I need it, right? It's got to taste better than Red Bull. So no, it was caffeine, man. I went nuts on caffeine, and we built this car, and and when you go out there and you put your heart and soul into something, and you come up that short, you're like, this is awful. This is like, what am I doing wrong? Yeah. But I've done enough of Bonneville stuff to know how this goes down, and I know that not every single time you show up, it's going to be what you expect. It's going to be what happens, and that's going to be your learning lesson, and that's either going to motivate you or it's going to make you piss in your Cheerios and forget about it. But so I went back to the drawing board because I had another run 1 week later. So I worked on the car. I found some more power. It was lack of fuel delivery because, again, when you're accelerating a car for more than 60 seconds, you have to get that fuel volume from the tank to the engine. And if you're trying to push 15 gallons of fuel through a straw, you're not going to get enough to the engine. And you're not going to know that until you're holding the throttle down for that long.
Yeah.
Even on a dyno, it'll make a measurement because all the fuel is there for 3-4 seconds, but it's not there for 40 seconds or 50 seconds or 60 seconds. It's like you need the volume. So I had to go back and build a second fuel system. So I had 2 separate fuel pumps feeding the carburetors in the engine. So 2 pumps were drawing fuel up there. So I found more power because I was able to figure out why I was running out of, I didn't realize I was running out of power because you're going that fast. You're like, everything seems like it's fine, but it's not.
And you found the extra power to compensate for the extra weight from the fuel too.
100 more horsepower. So I'm like, oh shoot, now I got enough volume to the engine.
Yeah.
So I went out there, and because of the winds at Mojave, and you're at 4,000 feet above sea level, which costs you a little bit of horsepower, because of the winds, I couldn't get past like 184, 185. And the later the day got going, the worse the wind got, and I'm just like looking at the windmills on the hill. It's 90 degrees out there, and you're melting. You're in your suit, and, and all of the elements of Mother Nature and reality just start weighing on your shoulder. So I went home, still no record, and
Do you remember what you ran that time?
Yeah, it was like 184.
184.
That was the best I could get. And I ran 184 like 7 times. 184.2, 184.8, 14. You know, I was so consistent with my time or my speed.
Which was good.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, every single time, and I'm looking at my time thing, going, I'd be happy if I got 1 or 2 more miles per hour faster. But the reality was, I was still 20 miles an hour short. So I'm like, it's not going to happen today.
Yeah.
I had a couple friends out there that race, you know, drag boats and stuff like that, and the barometric pressure, the altitude, and the way the air was moving. He goes, "You're just not going to make the power you need. You're not going to make the power you need to get to that level." So I went home and very disappointed. And the next run wasn't until 2017 spring. So coming up on that date, I wasn't really sure. And about 2 weeks before the run day, they called me up and they said, "Hey, how you doing with your car? You know, we were out here with you twice. We're all rooting for you. How about if we waive your entry fees and invite you out in a month to go run with us again?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." So I got off the phone. I told my guys, throw this thing up in the air. Let's check everything out. Let's get all the power we can get. And the night before that run, it was pouring down. We had storms. But the very next day was no storms, good weather, especially out in Mojave. So, man, I showed up at like 2 o'clock in the morning. The car was already there. My guys brought the car there. They teched it in. And I drove my Ferrari all the way out there at like, I didn't get there till like 2 in the morning. I had a driver meeting at 8. And when I got up at like 7:30, you know, it's not like you really sleep before a day like that, right? So I got up at like 7:30 and it was 60 degrees, a light wind. It was like the perfect conditions. It wasn't windy, nothing. So I told the staff, I said, can I please be the first one to run my car? And they said, "Oh, we already thought about that. You're second on the track." So after my first run, I hit 194 miles an hour.
Holy
and I
shit.
came back to the pits and I told my guys, today's the day. So I inflated the tires. I advanced the timing 1 degree. I went back out. I ran 198. I'm like, son of a bitch, man, we're almost fucking there. So I gave it more fuel pressure, was one of the last moves. And I went from 33 PSI in the tires to 40 to 49. They didn't want to see more than 50 pounds of air pressure in the tires. Hard as a rock, but the least amount of rolling resistance. So I did that, and that day I ran 2:01 officially back.
Hell yeah.
So yeah.
There you go, man.
At
Celebrate.
10:45. That's
There
right.
we go.
At 10:45, I pulled off the straightaway because you don't know how fast you ran until you get to the booth and get your time slip. So as I was pulling up to the time booth, they all walked out of the booth and they were clapping and applauding me. And,
what were they doing?
and it was like, they walked out. Yeah, exactly, man. It was like, you know. So I pulled in, got my time slip, you know, and I just got a lot of respect from the guys that were there. And they were all great and supportive, and they all told me, if you need anything, we'll help you out. So they were all rooting for me, and they're there too. They know how hard it is to make speed like that. You know, it just doesn't. You just don't wake up and talk to somebody that hit 198 miles an hour or 200 miles an hour in their Ferrari like they were sipping coffee. If someone's telling you that story, they got beads of sweat running down their head, their palms are sweaty because they actually did it. But the guy that didn't do it, he's talking about it like he, was on his way to Starbucks and that's what happened. You know, so full of shit. It drives me crazy. These guys are like,
that's
they don't have any idea.
Now, is this NA or forced induction?
This is normally aspirated, man. I got a carburetor and a fan belt.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah, this
that's
is the
it.
most badass
It's
stuff you could be at.
ridiculous.
It's a Cobra, bro.
It's 1965 technology.
Yeah.
427, carburetor and a fan belt. You know, pair of big balls, and that's it. You run that thing down the runway until you get your speed, and that's it. And
the driver mod.
and I did have guys like Alan Grant and Peter Brock reach out to me, Bob Bondurant reach out to me, and they congratulated me because those guys spent many years running their cars around the longer tracks in Europe and stuff like that, trying to get that car up to speed because all the other Ferraris, some of the Jags, they were hitting those high speeds down the straightaways, those long straightaways where the Roadster couldn't do it. So they started pulling windshields and doing other things. And the advantage I have was I built some undercar aerodynamics to keep the car stable at high speed.
I remember
and
we
that's
went
how
and looked at that. Yeah.
that's how I pulled it off. You know, I don't think those guys had lack of power back in those days. I think they had lack of aerodynamic to keep the car stable. And nobody had wind tunnels back then, right? I mean, even if you watch the movie Ford versus Ferrari, there's no wind tunnel testing back then. You know, didn't happen. You know, so it was in one of the scenes in that movie. As a matter of fact, they would tape little strings on the car, and then they would watch the car go around the track. And by the movement of that string, of the yarn that was on the car, they could tell which direction the wind was going. And that technology is still very effective today. You'll put strings on a car and run them, and you could just watch the car go by with binoculars, and it'll tell you where the wind's going. You know, so that was their version of wind testing and where the air is going. And then early on in that movie, they found out that the air that was coming in was getting trapped into the front end of the car, so they had to give it a place to go. So that's why you got that on the competition GT40s. You got that huge opening on the hood because the wind comes into the radiator and then kicks up in the air over the car to create downforce, and it gets rid of the air flowing through there also. So there's a whole thing. And, you know, working on these Ferraris and Lamborghinis my whole life, you watch their aerodynamics evolve little by little. And I start thinking and seeing that, and I started applying that kind of information to my Cobra. And that's how I was able to achieve that speed and stability. So I could take you guys for a ride in the car, and we could do 160 miles an hour, and I could look over at you and say, see, how's that feel? It's nothing.
Right.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Would you like some tea?
Sip on this while we're driving. And if you need some tequila, it's in the door pocket.
Oh, now we talking. Now
Because
we talking.
you're gonna need it after we're done driving, so you don't soil yourself. So, but yeah.
I can't imagine the amount of euphoric feeling that you got coming into that pit at the end of that run, and everybody's running outside and cheering and saying, man,
Yeah, that was even though I ran 223 later on in that same car, the experience hitting the 201 and only 1.5 miles of acceleration is all I had. The experience of hitting that that day was probably, you know, a huge reward, a big feather in my hat, a great feeling. And of course, you know, you wake up the next day and you're like, all right, I got to go do this again somewhere. I need more road. I need more power. I need, you know, you start going nuts, right? You're not sleeping at night. You know, you're inventing shit.
What was the reasoning behind that? Was it just the thrill, or the fact that you wanted to hammer in this record so far deep that nobody could reach it? Or a little bit of everything.
When you're 10 years old and you're walking home from school with your backpack that weighs more than you, and this car pulls up next to you that you've never seen before, and it's shaking the ground and the windows and the mailboxes, and you just see this thing and you don't know what it is. Later in life, you figure out what it is, and then later in life, you realize that that car was so iconic on so many levels. Like, that was the car to beat. That car was the fastest 0 to 60 car on the planet. Not even Ferrari had anything that would accelerate at that rate back in the 60s and early 70s. So that was the car to beat. That car set the bar. And as later on in life, as you learn the history behind that car, and it's a car that you really, really like, it's like your favorite. And now all of a sudden you have the opportunity to build and drive and have and own and set a world record in that car. That was it. It was like whatever dream was boiling up inside of me at 10 years old, I made it a reality finally. You know, so that's what drove me to do the 201, and then thinking to myself, well, you know, 198, 201, that's only 3 miles an hour. Now, even though I would have given my left arm to get an extra 3 miles an hour the day I was trying to break it on the second run, knowing that I was that close to the old record, I thought, you know, I just need more road, more tuning, more something to get this car at, like, I would have been happy with 208, 210. So when I went to the Tour de Force in Sun Valley, Idaho, I had more road. So I was very excited about that. The downside was I was at 6,000 feet. The upside to that is that the air is thinner. So I also have less pushback on the wind resistance. So the wind resistance was less. The power was less. So maybe it balances out. There's an argument there. I've talked to a lot of people about it. So knowing this, I had 1.7, almost 1.8 miles of acceleration. I thought, if I'm going to get more speed, it's going to be on a road like that. So they closed off the freeway for us. And my first run was 194, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Of course, my first time on this public highway that had a turn in it. So you got to hold your speed at turn. You can't be full throttle. And then as you unwind out of that turn, you get about a good 0.9 miles of balls out. So whatever your speed is coming into that turn, the straightaway's a given. So if your speed is, the first time I came into that turn, I was about 130 miles an hour, 135. And then when it wound out straight, then I stood on it. So when I got into the pits, I was talking to one of the guys that had a lot of experience. And he said, if you want an extra 10 or 15 miles an hour, you're going to do it you're going to get it before your turn and in your turn. So you need to exit your turn at 150, 145 if you want to get your goal number. So I just put my big boy pants on, and I came into that turn, and I watched the speedometer swing past 150, and I just kept pushing into it and feeling the car. The car was holding the road, so I got up to, I think, about 160 looking at the video. And once that turn unwound, I just laid the hammer down, and I was so busy holding on to my pants because the freaking road had shrinkage to it from the snow. Okay, so there was a dip, and the only people that felt the dip was the people going over 200 miles an hour. So I went over that dip, and I thought, I came out of my seat, and I'm like, what on God's green earth was that? And I was pulling into the pits. And same thing, everyone came running over to me, and I thought I was on fire, to be honest with you. I don't know what happened. So they're screaming at me, and I can't hear. I got my helmet on, and everything's mumbling, and I'm like, they told me how fast I ran, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man.
What was that one?
That was 223.2.
That was the 220s.
That was 223. That was like unheard of. And that day there were 60 cars, McLaren, Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, Bugatti, they all showed up there, and that was the fastest car of the whole day. So that was really, really, really exciting to me. So that was huge. Now,
that was awesome.
Not only did I beat the 198, I absolutely crushed my old record. Yeah. And and the rest is history. So now that car
truly is history, man.
Yeah, that car wears a big, big badge. Yeah, so that and that's what drives you. Yeah. Right. So now you go home and you're like, now what? I really don't want to get that car much over 223, but I would if I could. So there's still that thought. And then the Daytona Coupe, that's next. I'm going to take that thing, and I think I can hit, if I get that Roadster to hit the 223, I'll get that Daytona Coupe to hit at least 235, at least. So, and then there's a company that's got a Daytona they want me to drive. And it doesn't fall into the stock category that they raced it in originally back in the 60s. But this particular car has twin turbos, got 2,500 horsepower, something like that. And they said, you want to drive it? I said, yeah, I'll drive it.
So you got to ask me twice. Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah.
Now, when you drive other people's cars, okay, so I've known you for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Even the Italian Job, you've sold that car before.
Yeah, I sold that thing. When you're building your company, you need cash flow. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's hard work.
And this is before you attempted any records, I think.
No, this was right after the 201 record I sold.
Oh, okay.
So I made him. He's a very nice man. I made him tell me, hey, if this car ever goes up for sale, you got to offer it to me first. So he called me up, and it's been about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And he said, hey, I'm getting ready to sell this car, so I'm offering it up to you first. So we went back and forth, and I ended up buying it back. And when I bought it back, I regretted selling it. When I bought it back, I was in a better position to buy it back. So I did. And, I just love that car. It's my happy place in that thing. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I could drive it to coffee. I could drive it to grocery store. I could do 200 miles an hour on a bridge somewhere and not bat an eye. That's fine. That car is solid. I love that thing. So.
And you bought it, and then
I ran the 223.
Then you ran the thing. And just to give you guys some context, Ted, he owns a company called Taormina Imports in San Carlos, California, and he builds Cobras for a living, amongst other things. So if you ever need a badass ride when it comes to Cobras, he even has a crazy concoction he built himself, so we'll get into that later. But that twin turbo car, how do you drive a car like that when you didn't build it? And still have the confidence
So-
behind it.
Good question. Best thing, and I told these people this, I said, okay, when you guys are done doing your magic and your tuning and all that stuff, I need my hands on that car for about 2 months, and I need to work on the aerodynamics, the suspension, everything that's going to keep me safe is going to be worked on. And then when I run it out on the street, on the road somewhere, bridge in Mexico, I'm going to make sure that all the tuning numbers are where they need to be, because even if you're on a dyno and you're tuning this thing, that still doesn't label the fact that everything is right under acceleration for 60 seconds.
Yeah.
There's no way. So I could be in the throttle in that thing for 20 seconds, because they've never done it, full throttle, and actually all of a sudden probably watch my fuel pressure go down because I'm not getting enough fuel to the engine.
Yeah.
The engine's going to demand it, but not only is it going to demand it for that long, that fuel line better be the size of a garden hose. It better be. And it better have the fuel pump to move that volume, because the car's going to burn it. Let's just take a dragster, for example. Some of the fastest dragsters in the world are running the quarter mile in 4 seconds. Well, it burns 20 gallons of gas in 4 seconds. You can't dump 20 gallons of gas in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You can't even dump it on the ground, let alone
Wild.
That's insane.
let alone pump it from the tank to the engine, burn it, and run a 4 second quarter mile at 300 something miles an hour.
Dude, that's not a fuel pump. That's a water hose, or that's a fire hose back
Fire
there.
hydrant. Yeah,
It's a fire hydrant back there.
Fire
man.
hydrant in the back, right? That's what these guys are running. And these fuel pumps and the size of the fuel hoses and everything are what they need to make 6, 7, 8, 9,000 horsepower. Okay,
crazy.
So I'm in a little Cobra making 2,500 horsepower, but I still got the same problem. I got to get the fuel to the engine. So that's going to be number one. So I'm really curious to see what kind of fuel delivery they have coming on this thing, and I'll probably guarantee you it's going to have to be changed, or I'll have to run two systems.
For the car that went 223, if you put it forced induction, would you go even faster, or you think that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, the car I drove that fast is only 720 horsepower, 730 horsepower. God. You know, so that's like, a lot of people make that kind of power.
Yeah.
But
You make that naturally aspirated.
yeah. That's 4-barrel carburetor, fan belt.
See, that's how you know, like, a car's been
That's
perfectly
wild,
tuned
man.
in every direction, tuned with its
Yeah.
aerodynamics. Every little thing has just been tuned.
Yeah.
I think that shows a testament to your and your team's skills when you can develop a car like that.
That's
prove
art.
it in the real world.
Yeah.
That's work.
Smash record and then beat your own record and say nobody can say anything anymore. You
Yeah.
already.
Well,
put
how
it
many
up
people
there.
will show up to an event like that with 60 different exotic cars that actually said they built their own and drove it and ran that fast? Not one guy.
Yeah.
These guys, there's Paganis there. There's like 3 or 4 Paganis. Those are $6, $7, $8 million.
Yeah.
The Bugatti is $1.5 million. And these guys are they're hitting the top speed of the car, the manufacturer top speed. McLaren 720S, 218. He hit it. He hit 218. So it wasn't like these guys needed more car or more balls or anything else. They just need, they hit the max of their car.
Yeah.
Mine rolled off the truck, home built job. The looks on their faces, they didn't know I was the owner. And they're like, what's this guy doing with this car? He's out of his fucking mind. He's going to drive that thing? And they're don't shake it down. His license plate's real. And they're like, he went 200 in this thing? He's got to be nuts. And I'm standing there listening to them all talk. And they're like, where is this guy? They're like, he's standing next to him. They're like, you drive that thing? And I'm like, I do. Man, where do you put your balls? I said, you see that passenger delete cover over there? I put him on the seat next to me. You just can't see him.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's that. But I enjoy that, and I'm proud of my crew, and I'm proud of the accomplishments that we've all made together. And I look forward to more stuff, and I've got some more cool cars coming up of stuff that some people have never heard of. So I'm excited about that.
What's this?
It all started with a phone call of being the wrong guy.
Man,
the wrong
person, but the right guy, boy.
Right. Think about that, right? So and some people find it hard to believe, but it's on film. I mean, you can watch it.
Yeah,
easy.
that's crazy.
It's fun. It's super fun. So
Yeah, you even Google your name, because I Googled you before even starting the podcast, and the whole thing is just the Italian job, the Italian job, the Italian job goes 223, Shelby Cobra blows past somebody on the freeway in his Ferrari going 206 miles an hour, and then Shelby Cobra over and over again after that.
yeah. I mean, the car's been around for a little while now, and I think everywhere it goes, it's a crowd favorite.
Is the Italian job going to be a forever home with you now?
It's another really good question. So I have some more ideas of what I'd like to do in my future. So I think that 2024 Barrett Jackson, I think you're going to see that car go up on the podium. Some of it will be donated to a good cause, and I might sell it and build something that's not a 1966 spec car. I'm going to build a Super Cobra. That is a Cobra, no doubt in your mind. It'll have special fenders. It'll have a different look to it. It'll be very lean and very, 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 very mean looking.
Nice.
It's like, if Batman and Superman got together and built a car, it's going to look like that. So it's going to be cool. And I've already started the renderings and stuff of it, so it's going to be a mind blower. Like, no one's going to really know what planet it came from.
Is this the concoction you were talking about?
No, this is. I'm gonna let him talk about that too, because people can purchase that if I'm not mistaken. As of today, oh my god.
Yeah, that's going to be the Taormina Super Cobra. That's going to be the shitmobile.
Oh, shit's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you guys, because you guys are not gonna be able to see that.
Oh my god, that's nasty.
Yeah, that's going to be one nasty son of a. So this will be running for the people that are listening, what they would put an old FR9 NASCAR engine into, which is a 900 horsepower, 9,000 RPM V8. Normally aspirated, going to have a fan belt, going to have a carburetor. That's what's going to go in that car. So it's going to have an all aluminum, detuned NASCAR engine. So it'll probably make 800 horsepower, and it'll rev to 9,000 RPM. It'll sound like nothing you've ever heard.
I was going to say, that's going to sound crazy.
Yeah. So it's going to be neat. It'll be fast. It'll be legitimately a 200 plus mile an hour car. I'll make a few high speed runs for it just for fun, but it doesn't really classify and qualify as a 1966 Shelby like the one that Dick Smith drove or the one that Virgil drove. So it's not that, but the car that I built was original to spec in the 60s. I just built it my way. This Taormina Super Cobra is just going to be a very personal thing. So there'll only be 2 in existence. And that's it. I'll build 2 Super Cobras.
There it is. One of 2.
So
that's it, man.
Yeah.
Save one for me for when I make it someday. I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I'm going to make it someday just to buy that.
If you ever want me to straighten your hair out, I'll just take you for a spin. And you can just wear a shirt that says hair by Super Cobra. And that's it. But
you never heard some shit like that, bro. Well, here, want me to straighten your hair out?
Well, if you're cheaper than the product it'll take, I'll tell you that. So, I mean, in all fairness, I've had a girl in the car. She lost her fake eyelashes. That was classic, right? I looked at her, and it was like, oh, you might want to check something. Fake eyelash stuck to her forehead, and extensions went out the back. I thought it was a ghost, but it was her hair extension. So those kind of things happen when you go fast.
Oh my god!
Choose your passenger carefully, I'll tell you. So
especially the open top, man. That's amazing.
Open top car, yeah. I mean, I've gone so fast just playing around on the street sometimes, and I don't know what speed I hit, but it was probably 160, 170, and the passenger floor mat on the floor just got sucked out of the car.
Jesus.
Right out. So that's what the speed is, and the air passing over a car at that speed, that's what happens. So when you see these movies on an airplane where the window goes out and people start getting sucked out, there's some reality to that. It's just not Hollywood. So
oh no,
going fast.
I can imagine, man, what the things that you've probably experienced going those speeds.
Oh
on
my
a
gosh,
regular
it's
basis.
unbelievable. Yeah.
On a regular basis.
Greatness.
Yeah. Oh, my brother, I took him out, right? And he's like, yeah.
Oh, he's a crack up, by the way.
Yeah, Perry. Yeah, good old Perry Merrick. I love him. He's holding his coffee. Starbucks, by the way. He's holding his coffee, and it's got the hot sleeve on it, right? He's holding the sleeve. We went so fast, the cup went out of the sleeve. All he had in his hand was the paper sleeve, and he looks at me, and goes, "Dude, you owe me a fucking cup of coffee." I didn't even get one sip.
So I guess you can't drink coffee in here.
Not at that speed. We were on a quiet highway. It was, fairly early in the morning. I got sucked right out of his hand. So
Oh my goodness.
that's a reality. But when you think about that kind of speed and what it takes to go that kind of speed, and some of the cars and the technology today that people are driving these cars that are good 200-mile-an-hour cars, honestly, the reality is that I don't think they realize how fast that is. And with all of the bells and whistles and nannies and babysitters you got looking after you at high speed, the reality is that if you're taking a corner too fast, there's no car that's going to save you.
Yeah.
The reality is you're going to go off the road. So when you see some of these exotic cars wrecked, they're catastrophic. They're broken in half. You get the front end down the road. You got the engine on the side of the mountain. There's shit everywhere. So
As friends, that's the only thing we worry about. Because every time you're about to head out of town, you're like, you're casual about it. You stop in, pick up some graphics, decals, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to go do a run. We do think about that. You know what I mean?
Well, I think about it too, but you guys don't realize I spent the last 30 days before that day making sure that my car is going to make it. I'm going to be safe. And the absolute worst thing that can happen, and it did happen in my last run at Cape Canaveral, I blew a main fuse. I'm running down the runway at about 140. All my power shuts off. And I'm like, what in the hell, So I roll off, they send the emergency crew because when when something goes wrong and they're worried, we don't know if he's on fire or what, they just, when they hear the engine shut down, they just jump in their emergency vehicles and came rescued me. And it was a 80 amp fuse. That's all it was.
So when they pulled up, you were just swapping the fuse?
No, I pulled up and I figured out what was wrong. And they're like, what's the matter? And I'm like, it's just a fuse. So, we went back to the pits, and I had a 80 amp fuse. Believe it or not, one of my guys was sharp enough to just throw one in there for random.
giggles.
It was just random. I mean, it doesn't happen like that. So yeah, we popped the fuse back in. I was back out on the runway for a couple more runs. That was our half-mile acceleration. Then we had a mile and a half and 2 mile acceleration. So that was really fun with the Johnny Bomer Proving Ground guys. That was a great experience. So I can't wait to do that again.
Now the next record you're looking to break on the Shelby, the Daytona.
Yeah.
What is the current number to be? Do you know?
There was a guy that ran a car that was boosted out at Bonneville, and I think he hit like 213 or 214. So I'll build the car in its original spec with a 427 and normally aspirated, just the way that Pete Brock designed it, just the way that Ken Miles raced it, the way that Bob Bondurant raced it. I'm going to build it in that spec, and I'll run faster than that. So I'm going to build it in its original spec in that car. I'll break that record. That's probably, I don't know what the record is as far as Pete Brock. Pete Brock seems to remember 208 miles an hour, 209, something around there, close to 210. So, and he was the one that designed that body for Shelby. And they had to build it and get it ready and race it at the 24 Hours at Daytona. That's where it got its name, Daytona. So I'll run that car faster than the guys did boosted, so I could break the official record. Then I'll take out the twin turbo that's got 2,000 horsepower and see what that takes. See what that'll be. That car with turbos like that, if I don't catch on fire because the turbos make so much heat, if I don't catch on fire, I'll run 230 plus. Yeah. It'd be nice if it's that aero and that stable. If I can get into the Bugatti window of between 250 and 260, that'd be really great. I'd probably hang my hat after that.
Probably.
I mean, well, hang my hat for 12 months and they'll
There it is. Just for the year.
I was gonna say, I don't know, man.
2 months after. It'll take 12 months for my family to stop yelling at me for going so fast. And after about 12 months, they'll stop and I'll go do something else.
There you go.
So I don't need all that negative shit in my head. So, yeah, there's a process though. There's a process and a prep mindset. There's health. There's working on the car with your crew that sets the pace and the mindset before you're staring down that runway that's 2.5 miles long and just giving it everything you got, because after a certain speed, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
There's no lifting, there's no questioning, there's no nothing. You just focus on going faster, keeping that car stable. And that's that once you get into that window, there's no turning back.
Throttle out.
Yeah. Yeah. Just drop a gear and disappear.
There it is.
Simple as that.
Now you've also in recent times had another car project you've been working on, and that we've created. Has that? Are you still moving forward with that project?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this car's a car that I built with Phil Hill that was involved with a project I did when I was 19 years old, working for the shop I was working for. We put a Ferrari engine, a Ferrari V12, in a Cobra replica, and the sound, the power wasn't anything amazing. It was only like 375 horsepower, but it was a 4.5 liter V12 that we put in this car, and the sound and the drive and everything was so cool. Road and Track wrote it up in 1987. It's like a big deal. And working on that car and that project and hearing it and seeing it and watching the response of the people that were part of it and the owners that owned it really inspired me to do something cool like that. And it always been in the back of my mind. And when I got my shop up and running here in San Carlos, 2010, I went to a fundraiser for Phil Hill and Michael J. Fox for Parkinson's, and I ran into the Hill family that was around us when we were building that car a long time ago. And she said, you should do another one. And I said, I think I will. And that day I drove away from that event, and I thought, I'm in a position where I can actually dream up something like that. So I was at a watch show, and I was talking to a customer about it, and he looked at me and he goes, build it, just build it. So I went to the drawing board and I built a Cobra. It's called a Cobra. It's some people call them hybrids these days, right? You got electric, you got gas. It's a hybrid. You got this stuff, but it's two things into one is the hybrid definition. So I built a hybrid Cobra / Ferrari. I put a Ferrari front end on it with a Enzo Ferrari V12 in it, a 6-liter V12 that revs at 8,400 RPM, and the back half of it's a Cobra. It's got a Cobra chassis and suspension, and a 6-speed transmission, exotic interior. So this thing, you should hear it.
Crazy.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is absolutely gorgeous.
It's carbureted.
I'll have to see that.
I put Weber carburetors on it, and it kind of replicates, a $30 or $40 million Ferrari, but at least you can buy parts for this. You could drive it. It's got 6 gears.
Where do
big
people
brakes.
find out about it if they want to buy one?
They can just go to my website, and if they're really, really interested, they just come down to my shop and see one in person. And
I'll be there tomorrow.
yeah, come check. You got to come check it out. It's really, it's really something. We're gonna do a thing towards the end of April called Cars and Cannolis.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because
I'm
cars and coffee, I'm tired of that, right? So it's going to be Cars and Cannolis. You can come down to the shop and check out all the projects and, see what's going on. You can see the Cobra in person.
Oh,
And,
It's absolutely
probably hear it.
We'll
hear it
post
run.
up the Ferrari so you guys can get an idea of what it
Yeah,
looks
it's
like.
cool. It's really, again, this is like a dream car to me. I could never afford a $30 or $40 million Ferrari. So
What's that front end again?
it replicates a '59 Ferrari Testarossa.
Testarossa, that's what it was.
And
man, look at the headers.
it runs on Weber carburetors just like the old Testarossa. It's got 6 gears, so it's a 3-pedal car. You got to shift it. When you turn on the lights and you turn on the fan. It's a real switch. It's not like some touch screen thing. It's not it's old school. It's why we fell in love with cars in the first place. The sound. I mean, everybody back in the 60s and 70s, all they could talk about was the Ferrari Formula One V12s running around the track. Later on, it was V10s. The sound, you don't even get that anymore.
Yeah.
Now they're going hybrid out on the track and all that stuff. It's kind of disappointing, but I lose interest in watching some of that stuff, because if they just stick to the old school part of it, where the legends started, and keep that going, at least on the racetrack, why not? Why go electric? Why do all that? They even Formula One now, right?
They do.
Yeah, Formula E.
Yeah.
Now, what about from the other point of just going straight for the function? So, like the new the new Lamborghini that they just released has 3 electric motors in it, but it's not for hybrid and go EV. It's because we're giving you all of that go from the very beginning. So it is performance driven.
So running my little Cobra against a 918 Porsche, which keeps the electric motor going up to 160 miles an hour. So you got all-wheel drive. You got electric motor and gas, which that combination is about 900 horsepower. You got that guy, and he's running a mile in that car and in launch mode, and I take my little Cobra that's right behind it, and I'm only 2 miles an hour slower in a mile, which is 100. He ran like 197, and I think I ran like 194 or 195. And I'm like, that's great, all that technology. It only gained you that.
Fair.
Only gained you that. And what happens when that motor goes bad? And what you got to do? You gotta rebuild the car? I mean, my fan belt breaks, I put on another one.
The fuse.
Right, pops a fuse.
Fuse, not even $1. So there's that, and I think the technology with all the hybrid stuff, I think it's amazing. I love it. I love it. But build a normally aspirated car. Yeah. Build one with a belt-driven supercharger to clean up the air, whatever. This electric Tesla stuff is a joke. That stuff is just not. It's just it's not cleaning the air. We're burning more coal for electricity than we ever have in the history of the world, and coal is the #1 pollutant. Just because you plug it in and you're not filling up at the gas station doesn't mean you're cleaner. That energy comes from coal.
There's always been a debate about that, right? Debate about how do you get the energy to power the Tesla, or any EV for that matter.
Any EV, it's not Tesla's fault.
Or how do you get the cobalt through the mining, and what is powering that mission to do it? So there's always been that debate about that kind of stuff. Yeah, materials for the batteries.
I think it's a
healthy
backwards
debate to have.
Oh no, it's not. It's easy. You could take the energy that it takes to build a Tesla and keep one charged versus building a car and keeping it running for 10 years. And the Tesla is twice as polluting as a gas-powered hybrid catalytic converter car. It's that dirty. To build it, and that doesn't even calculate what you do with all the leftover battery stuff. What about the self-driving, right? Lady and her kids ended up in a swimming pool because self-driving took over. Or another Tesla was in a tunnel and they lost track of it, and the guy was in self-driving mode. He's in a tunnel, it stopped in Walnut Creek.
The unfortunate thing is, it is, for a lot of the old school car guys that we love what we do, it's the future.
Yeah. Well, because
it'll have its future for sure. But again, if you think you're cleaning up the air, you're not. Yeah. It'll have a future, and I think the technology's. I think it's great. I love the fact that they've accomplished what they've done this far.
And it also puts us guys who like the old, these cars that have that, and we're at the last era of it, we could say, right? That's what a lot of people say is these gas powered cars, even the newer ones that have a lot of tech that are non-hybrid or non-EV based, but they're just motor. Everybody's like, hey man, we're coming down to probably the last iteration of these, the last V12 naturally aspirated Lamborghini, the last Ferraris that are going to be like that, the last everything, American muscle cars, you're going to get their last versions now. So I think for us as guys who work on cars and, you are building them, it's going to make the market a little bit more tuned in, and people who really love that stuff won't have an option. They're gonna have to go back and buy the classics and the Cobras and all these other cars. And I think it's gonna be one of those rare commodities over time because you won't be able to get another one.
Well, it's exciting for me because I'm just, people are going to come to me and I'll just build it.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys want that feeling? You want that sensation? You want, how much power do you want? We'll build you a car. We'll restore your car. We'll do whatever because that's what got us here in the first place. All of this technology, all of this excitement and motivation of advancing, it all started with gas power. Everything. So, yeah. All those guys want to stop making V12s, I'll start building V12s. You bet.
Yeah, that's where it's going to be headed, man. I think you have a pretty strong market in front of you in terms of building nice rides.
And all those guys that want to work on V12s, come on down. I'll give you something to work on. I got a wrench for you.
So, you have Taormina Motorsports or Imports?
Same, Motorsports.
Motorsports. Yeah. And obviously we know now, or at least the audience out there knows that you work and build really badass AC Cobras and Daytonas. But what's your whole get down so people know a little bit more about what you actually do at Taormina Motorsports in case they want to work with you on any projects?
For the most part, there's a lot of people that have brought us their projects, old Cobras, Broncos, Mustangs. There's a lot of people out there that are building stuff that aren't really doing a very good job, so they get this product and they want all their problems sorted out. Every time we build a Cobra at Taormina Imports, we take it out for about 250 to 300 miles, do a shakedown on it. Make sure everything's right. Make sure that when the customer gets into that car, all he has to do is turn the key and put gas in it. That's it. And, that takes 300 shakedown miles. Some people don't do that, and they end up with problems. But at least when I deliver a car, oil leaks have been checked, hiccups, lights, everything, and it works, and it's going to be reliable. If something's going to let go after a fresh build, it's going to happen in that amount of miles. So that's one thing. So Cobras, we build those, Daytonas, GT40s. Those are fresh built cars, new. Bring in your project, old Bel Air, old Bronco. Old Mustang, something like that, old Corvette. If you want to go with a Art Morrison chassis and an LS, yeah, sure, we'll do that. The other specialty that we offer is all exotic car servicing. So servicing Lamborghini and Ferrari, I've been doing that since 1988. So I've been in the Lamborghini arena for a long, long time and the Ferrari arena for a long, long time. So there's a lot of exotics that we service. Some we modify, some we change, restore. We just finished restoring a 1968 Lamborghini Miura that turned out beautiful. We've rebuilt engines for the old 66 and 67 400 GT, 400 GT, front engine V12. We got Lamborghini Urama, Lamborghini Espada, 330 GT. We just finished a 73 911, painted it, rebuilt the engine, tranny, short shift, bushings, made it real nice. Porsches are a lot of fun too. So nothing we can't do. You just got to come down and tell us what you want, what you expect, and we'll let you know if it's within your expectation and within your budget.
Come over there, teach me how to turn a wrench.
Yeah,
sure. Well, I don't hire people from my friends, so you have to quit Sharif first. And then I'll hire you.
I ain't say I wanted to work there. I said I was trying to learn something.
Oh, yeah. I'll teach you. You want to come and learn something, when I work in my quiet time at night on the Cobra, you come down and,
Yeah.
hold the wrench, hold the light, don't scratch the car kind of thing.
What's the piece of advice you have? Because I feel like people getting into your field is a little bit of sometimes I feel like it's a dying breed in terms of the younger youth getting into it. But there are people out there that love the smell, the engines, the sound. But maybe they just don't know where to get started.
There's a lot of people that don't know where to get started. I've had a lot of guys that want to be mechanics. I have parents that want us to teach their kid how, because they want to be a mechanic, but I don't think they really know what that takes. And the hardest thing for us to find is somebody that can just think outside of the box and simply diagnose a car that's got a failed part. So if they say, this is failing, remove the part out of the car and prove that it's failed. Because sometimes that part needs to get a reaction from another part or a relay or a sensor. So you really, really, really have to think outside of the box and start asking yourself, this part's bad, and you got to say, why is it bad? Did it go bad by itself? Did it overheat? Did fire get to it? What happened to it? You know what I mean? So you got to ask yourself why. Because again, you can replace a simple fuse, and that fuse is going to blow again. So you got to ask yourself, why is this fuse blowing?
Yeah.
You know, the fuse isn't bad; it's good. But when you put it in, it's blowing. So you got to go chase that. And I don't find mechanics that do that anymore. You know, what happens at dealerships is they plug it into the computer. The computer says, this is bad. They email the factory emails them back and says, change this, change that. So you do that, the problem's still there. You email the factory, I change those parts, problem's still present. And they keep going and going and going. Now you got people, you know, that are just freaking out because their car's been there a week and a half, and they don't know what's wrong with it because the person diagnosing it can't really think outside of the box. So they got to email the factory, and the factory gets back to them whenever. Imagine they probably got, you know, 500 emails a day from dealerships all over the world. They've got to answer and diagnose a problem. So there's a thing to that. There's a problem with that. So the young kids built something on their own, a go-kart, a lawnmower, a car, or something like that. That guy that's working at home figuring it out, that's the guy that's going to be the one that's going to start thinking about what's wrong with the car, because they got to figure that out. So if they get the mentality of chasing something down and figuring it out, that's a guy that's going to have an easier time working at my shop than a dealership, because the dealership's going to teach them not to think.
Yeah.
They're going to plug it in.
Critical.
They're going to do what
thinkers
they're
in your
told.
Spaces.
Yeah.
It's harder to come by.
So yeah, it's a dying breed. The pioneers that invented this stuff knows where it came from. When I started working on cars, they didn't have fuel injection. Didn't even exist. So there's a gap. There's a bridge between carburation and fuel injection today. There's a whole bridge. And if you understand that bridge, you'll have an easy time figuring cars out. Be a piece of cake.
There it is.
Yeah, and you get to work on pretty much all aspects of it. Modern day, a brand new Lamborghini, you can work on it versus a classic or like this 1963 Lusso that we have downstairs.
Yeah.
You can wrench on anything. So,
wrench on anything.
And anything and everything in between. So
Yeah.
You got any last thoughts for our good friend here?
I think this is the most quiet I've ever been during the podcast, man. I've just been listening to these stories, just enjoying it. It's been great.
Oh, I think it's bullshit. You got scared when I said we're going to straighten your hair out.
Hey, man, don't tempt me with a good time, because I'll ride passenger any day at high speed.
Okay,
I'm
well,
with
you're
it.
on. We're going to do that.
Hey, I'm down.
Sharif and I can put a GoPro on your face.
Oh man, it sounds like
I'm
good
with
time,
it.
Any last words for you, my friend, for at least for this evening?
No. I just want to show my appreciation for SS Customs for supporting me all these years and printing my decals at the last minute, whether it was for the Italian job or something else. You guys have always been supportive. I'm proud to wear your name on my car, and that name will stay on that car for the rest of that car's life. So I just want to say thank you for all your support and backup and good friendship. I really appreciate
Absolutely,
that.
man. It's been my absolute pleasure seeing all the growth from your shop here in San Carlos to where it's at today. 2010, you said, right?
Yeah. So it's 13 years, going on 14 years. It's been a good run, and I am not even close to being finished. So.
You know, Brad offered me that spot before he offered it to you when I was doing all Brad stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I turned it down. First of all, I couldn't afford that shit even if I wanted to.
Turned it down, but
back then I couldn't even afford it. I was just like, nah, it's okay. But I'm absolutely thrilled and excited for our friendship all these years, and I'm so stoked that you're the one who went in that place, because you have absolutely enhanced that whole operation, and I think Brad has had probably a really good, and everybody in that area has probably really enjoyed having you there to support them.
Me and Brad in San Francisco Sports Cars, we're having a lot of fun. You know, we've learned to work well together, which sometimes hard for some people, but we've been blessed with patience and good friendship, and we've been having a good time. and we don't want to stop. That's for sure. And with bringing out different cars and different Cobra versions like the Superleggera and the Cobrari and stuff like that. I mean, that's just really fun stuff, and no one's doing it. No one's doing it. So my competition is myself, and that's what makes it fun, and have you guys part of it, supporting me. That's makes it even better.
Hey, man, it's been an absolute pleasure being your friend all these years and seeing your growth. And I wish you nothing but the best in your future. I hope that everything stays together as you go down these runs going well over 200 miles an hour.
Love it.
And I'm very, very excited and looking forward to the future of Ted Taormina, man.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that, guys.
There we go, man.
This is part 1, too. You coming back for a part 2, dog. This was really cool.
Shoot, I'll be back.
You definitely got to do this again.
Yeah, this was absolutely incredible, man. I was actually enthralled in this entire conversation.
I just couldn't stop listening. I was just over here like,
it's good.
I was just listening.
In passing, we shoot the shit all the time in the shop. Oh, you broke a record. Good job. And give him a little fist bump, slap him real hard in the back.
Yeah.
And then, we talk some shit and leave. But actually getting the full lowdown, it was good to hear it in a calm setting where I could just, me and both AJ, I think we both kind of like were in our seats, just as vicariously as possible, trying to live in that moment that you were explaining.
Yeah.
And that made it pretty awesome, man. So
it's like a movie.
It was, man.
It was literally a movie.
Where's the Ted Taormina movie?
What might be something to that. So I had a sponsor when I went to the Kennedy Space Center and ran the car out at Cape Canaveral. And we had GoPros on the car and stuff like that. And we got some apparently really, really good footage. So the sponsor, I sent them a quick video of me running 198 miles an hour that was over my shoulder. They sent that to a virtual goggles place for the virtual VR goggles, and they put the sound of the car and everything in the goggles. They put them in the seat of the car. So when we go to get the awards that I've gotten, like fastest half mile, fastest mile, that's all in the IMRA record books. The people are going to sit in the Italian job, put on the VR goggles, and they're going to make that run in the car with this. So there may be some reality to actually living that experience.
They got to put it on like a little shaker so they can feel the vibration of the car.
Man.
Oh yeah, no, I'll probably just start the car.
Just start the car.
I don't care.
What are you talking about?
We'll start it up. We'll kill the whole party. We'll asphyxiation. And who cares? It's the experience. We all
sometimes you gotta die to live, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So, but yeah, there's a virtual reality to that with some goggles that we're gonna do, and I'll let you know how that turns out. If it turns out really good, I'll probably bring Sharif down to the party so you can meet some of these people because they're going to want to know who SS Customs is. So that'll be in San Carlos with the other sponsors. So yeah.
Is this when you get your official awards?
Yeah. So all the footage from running the car out there at Cape Canaveral, all that footage is going to get released by NASA, and we're going to have it there. And on top of that, we're going to put on the VR goggles, sit you in the car. We'll have cocktails, we'll have watches, we'll have Lambos and stuff to look at. Roger Dubuis was a sponsor, so Steven Silver, Jared Silver, both of them.
I'm very familiar with these brands.
Oh yeah, so you know all these boys. So you're going to be right.
Especially when it comes to your car.
You're going to be right at home. You'll be right at home.
My
so
God. Wait, what are you changing? Oh my God.
Yeah. You
what size?
blow the dust off that jacket and that button-up shirt because you're going to need to wear it.
Oh my God, man. Well, it's been a good time, man. Thanks again for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Like AJ said, I think we're going to definitely have you back on again because there's a lot we didn't cover.
Yeah.
But that's what people can look forward to the next time. So
Yeah.
as always, man, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what your best part of today's interview was about with Ted. And looking forward to seeing you again. Again, check him out, Ted Taormina, Taormina Motorsports Online. Thanks a lot.
See you guys.